Well, it's almost Valentine's Day, and people are thinking about meeting up and dating, apparently. At least that's what they tell me. And as anyone who's tried internet dating can tell you, there's a lot of risk involved. Sure, you might meet your soulmate, or you might end up as somebody's skin suit. You never know. But if you watch as many murder shows as I do, you start to see the patterns that killers follow. And so you get to see the red flags and what they look like. So, for the benefit of those who don't spend hours consuming murder stories, I've made this handy list of relationship red flags that you can learn from watching true crime. Let's get into it. First, to my subscribers, welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm Delaney, a true crime writer and all-around murder nerd. I'm also recovering from COVID, so that's why my voice sounds like this. Sorry. Anyway, if you enjoy this video, please give it a like and share it with others. And subscribe for more murder nerd videos. Now, back to ruining Valentine's Day. Now, I know my fellow true crime nerds don't need any reminders, but I couldn't not include the basics of internet safety first. First, don't like or swipe right on any thin profiles. Like if they don't have any information or just very little information on their bio, they only have one picture that looks suspiciously professional, it's probably a fake account. Next, check out their social media. This is public information, so do not feel guilty for wanting to know more about this person. 3, don't share personal information like your address, social security number, or bank information, obviously. And finally, do not send a stranger money. If they're asking someone they've just met on an internet dating site for money, they're a scammer, period. Even once you're reasonably sure they're a real person and not just trying to scam you for money, meeting that person in person brings its own pile of risks. So there are a few things you can do to minimize that. First, video chat with the person before you meet up with them. This is just to make sure they are who they say they are and to avoid getting catfished. Then, before your actual date, tell a friend where you're going. One thing you can do is take a screenshot of the person's profile and send that to your friend. You might also want to make a plan to call or text your friend either in the middle of the date or once you get home, just to check in. Be sure to meet in a public place with plenty of people around, not in either person's home, and definitely not in a wooded area. And do I even have to say it? Do not get into a vehicle with someone you don't know. Take your own car or get your own rideshare. When you're on your date, stick to your limits when it comes to alcohol and keep a close eye on your drink. And of course, always trust your instincts. If a situation seems sketchy or uncomfortable in any kind of way, bounce. You don't owe anybody an explanation. So with those basics out of the way, I want to talk about what kind of red flags to look for once you're actually dating. And while most of the people watching this are probably women, men should really listen up too. So first, in almost every story of a relationship gone really, really wrong, you'll hear a similar story. The two fall in love instantly, usually with one person showering the other with tons of attention, affection, and big romantic displays, including sometimes a sudden unexpected pregnancy. The two get married really quickly, sometimes within weeks or even days of meeting each other. This is called love bombing, and it's a manipulation tactic. It works because it can push you into feeling like you're in love, and when you first fall in love, a flood of hormones overtakes your brain, which temporarily short-circuits all rational thinking. It's those rose-colored glasses that blind you to red flags. And also remember that when a relationship is just starting, everyone's on their best behavior. It's only after they've got you locked in, so to speak, to a marriage or committed relationship that they start to show their true, not-so-sweet side. With serial scammers and killers, It can seem like they flipped a switch on their personality as soon as their victim signs the marriage certificate or life insurance policy. So go slow and don't rush into anything. Get to know the person for a while before making any commitments. And if they ignore your boundaries about this and keep pushing you for a commitment, that's another big red flag. Really a flashing warning sign. Moving too fast is also a handy way to keep you in the dark about their past, which brings us to number 2. There are a lot of things that can come under this umbrella. For example, if they're weirdly secretive about their cell phone or computer, that's pretty shady. The level of angry that they get if you look at their cell phone or computer is directly proportional to how awful the information on it is. Ditto if they like to go out late at night a lot and refuse to tell you where they're going. Now, it's true that neither one of you should have to answer to the other, but if they're consistently keeping their whereabouts a secret from you, that's a red flag. Also, and I can't believe I have to say this, but you should not be a secret. If, after you've moved into real relationship territory, you haven't met their friends or family, you're not really in a relationship with them. With these kinds of red flags, the chances are they've got them a side piece, or a side family, or they're the Craigslist killer. The point is, you never know. Final piece of advice on this one, if they've got a secret room that you are not allowed in, run. Another big red flag, really what should be a deal breaker, is jealousy. If they don't trust you, then they don't actually respect you, and that can't end well. One example of jealous behavior that often gets excused or explained away is blowing up your phone with calls or texts and then getting upset or hurt if you don't answer right away. That's not love, that's obsession, and it will likely be the first step in a pattern of controlling behavior. The most likely scenario with jealous dates is that they'll just continue being clingy and passive aggressive, making you stay in the relationship out of a sense of guilt until you're so miserable you finally leave after way too long. Ask me how I know this. But be careful, because jealousy is always the calling card of domestic abusers. Their jealousy is just an excuse to control you. The pattern can often escalate from getting upset at you for things like talking to a coworker at an office party, to stalking you, to guilt tripping you for spending any time away from them, and even manipulating you so that you quit or lose your job. It can even escalate to the point of keeping you a prisoner in your own home. And as anyone who's survived this kind of abuse will tell you, it doesn't happen all at once. Each step seems like a small thing, and because you want to avoid arguments and save the relationship, you compromise. But each compromise puts you further and further under their control, more dependent on them, and isolated from your support system. Which brings us to, it's easy when you first fall in love to be so wrapped up in the other person that you forget about everyone and everything else. But don't let that happen. For one, family and friends who love you will be more likely than you are to see the red flags or just ask questions that you might miss in your fog of love hormones. Even if they don't, most abusers and psychopaths are really skilled at putting up a good front. These relationships are still important. Most abusers, using the controlling behaviors I just talked about, gradually isolate their victims from their friends and family so that they have no one to turn to for help when things get really bad. Other tactics that they might use include being extremely critical of people that you're close to, saying they don't like them or don't trust that person, or acting so rude and shitty around that person that they run them off or make you so embarrassed that you stop seeing them. So stay in contact with your people. And if your partner gets bent out of shape because you have lunch with your mom every Sunday, then they need to take their bent ass on down the road. Lastly, but most importantly, this should be a definite deal breaker. One trait that you'll see in mostly male abusers and psychopaths is that they have very strict ideas about men's and women's roles in life, meaning they are in charge and their woman is to take orders and not ask questions. Sometimes it's based on a macho self-image, sometimes it's based on some religious belief. Either way, it's just a way to justify controlling you. One of the most common ways that they'll try to control you is by tightly controlling the finances. This is actually called financial abuse, and it occurs in 99% of all domestic abuse. It's difficult to impossible to leave an abuser if you don't have any money, especially if you have kids, and they know this. But even assuming they never lay a hand on you, if you don't know anything about the household finances, you're setting yourself up for a nasty surprise at some point. Are they selling forged religious documents, running a pyramid scheme, embezzling money from their medical practice? You have no way to know. Once they get caught, and they will get caught, you'll be left holding the bag, which won't have any money in it. This advice might seem paranoid. After all, how common is it really for someone to fall in love with a serial killer? But it's not just serial killers we have to worry about. It is all too common to fall for an abuser. Nearly 1 in 5 women and 1 in 7 men report having experienced severe physical violence from an intimate partner. Hopefully, by spotting these red flags early, you can get away and not end up becoming a victim yourself. And if someone you know is being abused, call 1-800-799-7233 or text LOVEIS to 22522 or go to www.thehotline.org. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and be sure and subscribe to my channel. And consider supporting me on Patreon. For as little as $3 a month, you can get early access to videos, bonus content, and free Murder Nerd merch. Go to patreon.com/themurdernerd to check it out. Thanks, and till next time.